My name is Ed Cooper, and I'm a practice-led postgraduate researcher at the University of Leeds. This presentation, entitled Excavating Thresholds on the Search for Precarity, composing Multiphonics for Heather Roche, aesthetically positions and outlines the processes of a piece titled To Notice Autumn Aromas Through, that will be performed by Heather at tomorrow's concert. Please do feel free to contact me after this if you have any questions or remarks at the email address on the screen now. Broadly speaking, my PhD research concerns liminality. With its roots in Arnold van Gennep's anthropology of the early 20th century, the term describes the central stage of a rite of passage, when the individual has neither the former nor future identity, while simultaneously, paradoxically, possessing both. Specifically, my work explores how liminal states might not rely on stable phenomena to transition between, but how these areas of ambiguity might move from being a passageway to a productive site in and of themselves. In other words, my music examines what it might be like to be stuck in this free-form, enigmatic, ambiguous, transformational area. Importantly, this experience is never static, but reliant on goal-orientated, goalless structures. To notice autumn aromas through, comprising a fixed media constituting 3 pre-recorded parts and instructions for live performance, utilises the detailed understanding of clarinet's multiphonics afforded by the Garden of Forking Paths project to deepen my examination of liminality in itself. The piece aims to undermine any emergent stability of pitches through insisting that the dance of agency between performer, specifically Heather, and the instrument is in a state of permanent liminality. Neither's agency ever dominates, rather the piece is a process of simultaneous, paradoxical, goal-orientated procedures which serve to interfere with each other, subsequently always alluding to but never reaching a telos. Clarinet multiphonics are inherently precarious and therefore lend themselves to this exploration of thresholds. To sound pitches clearly, a performer is required to balance the embouchure position and breath pressure, though, of course, the two are intertwined. Indeed, often multiphonics require sustained attention to emerge, and pitches might only sound as a result of passing through other resonances. Notably, as well, each multiphonic has multiple attributes that needn't necessarily follow a repetitive structure. Instability is present not only in the method of performance, but also in the possibilities of sonic outcomes. The fixed media component of my work forefronts the instability of multiphonics in 2 ways as a method of entangling agencies, through an overall instruction towards emergence of clear pitches and continuous half-holing. The notated pitches are components of multiphonics. Heather is asked to sound the pitch in isolation, or in instances where there is resistance from the instrument, ensure the notated pitch is the most prominent. Importantly, as the pitch begins to emerge to the foreground of attention, I ask her to allow this focus to disperse. She occupies a threshold that, importantly, if speaking from and to the literature around liminality, does not become stable in itself, but provides a space for movement. The control of the sounds never fully reaches that of the clarinet or Heather, but constantly reaches towards either one of these points of fixity. Indeed, the multiple attributes of each individual multiphonic insists on shifting and nebulous boundaries of this liminal space between Heather and the clarinet. The embouchure and breath pressure required to highlight a pitch of one multiphonic will not be the same for the next. In general, the pitches in the clarinet register are more resistant than those in the altissimo register, but the occasional transition between these embouchure positions adds to the precarity of these boundaries. Alongside this process of aiming the embouchure towards pitches that only allude to fruition, Heather is asked to treat the multiphonic fingerings as waypoints to be passed through via a process of constantly moving the fingers over the keys. This incessant half-holing serves to disrupt and cloud the fruitless objectives of the pointed embouchure. Some of these might inadvertently encourage either Heather or the clarinet to emerge as the momentary leader in this dance of agency. Others might work to disintegrate the production of sound altogether. Sole half-holing creates a precarious landscape that Heather's embouchure must stumble through. As if on a hunt for matsutake mushrooms, which can only grow in areas disturbed by humans, the faltering but desired pitches only reveal themselves as a result of this precarity between agencies. Heather must allow her instrument to bloom, but dismiss or restrict any promising buds. As a result, the porousness of the agencies of the instrument and Heather is highlighted. The two become entangled, an ever-transitioning assemblage of plateauing possibilities, encouraging a mode of being that delves into the contextual nature of instability. The attempted pitches of the three pre-recorded parts are ordered in an ascending chromatic fashion, with the material often doubling back on itself. Each of these comprise the same organisation of fingerings with different durations between them. The longest of these parts lasts approximately 7.5 minutes, the second 5.5, and the shortest just over 3. These are then layered and looped, and each part also has its volume gently, independently, and randomly altered. These factors create a structure that is in constant motion, always pointed towards synchronicity, but ensures that a sense of fixity has not yet fully been reached. For even if some sort of stability is momentarily encountered, this quickly evaporates or is made immaterial in favour of liminal becoming. This chasing of synchronicity and/or stability is not necessarily governed by the notated pitches aligning, but also the dances of agency moving across and through each other. It needn't be the case that the illusion of a telos emerges as a result of similar points of agency between Heather and the clarinet. There could be moments when, in one part, Heather wrestles to occupy a threshold, whilst in the other two, the instrument's agency momentarily blooms with unpredictable consequences. All three of these could result in very similar pitches, or even simple diatonic chords that are totally alien to this work, but serve to momentarily reinforce each other. Thus, this structure of the fixed media reveals the contextual nature of stability. As Anna Tsing writes, if categories are unstable, we must watch them emerge within encounters. To use category names should be a commitment to tracing the assemblages in which these categories gain a momentary hold. Liminality in itself, this chasing of a contextual stability, is not formless. It's goal-orientated but goalless. This layering amplifies that this contingent dance of agency is continuously renegotiated to occupy no man's land. Like brittle tectonic plates unsteadily rubbing against each other, cracks between the parts may momentarily align to reveal possibilities of emergence and bloom, which only collapse immediately and reinforce the relentlessness of becoming. Played alongside the fixed media are a selection of close-dyed multiphonics. Beginning anywhere in the sequence, Heather is asked to sound each one until she feels a sense of stability with the fixed media starting to emerge, or until approximately 1 minute has passed. As she progresses, I encourage Heather to consider and alter what stability might mean within each context. Perhaps the pitches align to an octave unison, perhaps microtonal beatings become particularly clear, perhaps everything feels unanimously out of control. These close-dyed multiphonics function as a method for searching this precarious landscape of the fixed media for ephemeral moments of structural low-key, consequentially revealing the contextual nature of stability and how that might, in some senses, be precarity. Through utilising the material nature of clarinet multiphonics, I have created a work that is a vibrant liminal state between agencies of the performer and instrument. This is amplified and further examined through layering and looping sections that provides a landscape to be excavated and examined in live performance. I'd like to wholeheartedly thank Heather for the time and energy she has dedicated to my work. Of course, this would never have happened without her. I'd like to also extend my gratitude to Scott McLaughlin for his continuous guidance and enthusiasm when it came to writing this piece, and, for what it's worth, my practice more generally. Thanks also both to Scott again and Alex DeLittle for organising this wonderful and hugely thought-provoking symposium. To conclude, I present a quote from Anna Tsing's The Mushrooms at the End of the World. Precarity is the condition of being vulnerable to others. Unpredictable encounters transform us. We are not in control, even of ourselves. Unable to rely on a stable structure of community, we are thrown into shifting assemblages, which remake us as well as our others. We can't rely on the status quo. Everything is in flux, including our ability to survive. Indeterminacy, the unplanned nature of time, is frightening, but thinking through precarity makes it evident that indeterminacy also makes life possible.